So at 6:04, let's get this meeting started. We have everyone in attendance, everyone absent. So I might get a motion to approve the November 2nd meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carries. All right, moving on. All right, Melissa, solid waste enforcement.
Oh, so quick. I'm just gonna come to the front just because sorry.
You're good.
looks better from your view, maybe if you can see the microscopic me. I feel like I'm presenting more. So really quick update. I know we're trying to get out of here today by 7:30. So Q4, we received 17 complaints and resolved 20 because I'm so amazing. Thank you. I inspected all 12 of our permitted facilities and 16 exempt facilities. For 2023, we received 124 complaints and I resolved 125, again, because I'm more amazing than even our database. In actuality, it's because we have some that carry over from year to year. So, and I inspected our solid waste handling facilities, permitted facilities 50 times and exempt facilities 19. So that's my quick update. Just to let everyone know on SWAC, I think it's really important. One of our solid waste handling facilities, Burlington Environmental, received a fine issued by Washington State Department of Ecology earlier this month in the amount of $25,000. So Burlington Environmental is a moderate risk waste facility in Washougal. They operate under the name Clean Earth now. From Ecology, they've issued a $25,000 fine for a violation of their 10-day transfer, their employees not being adequately trained, and they're taking the measure to implement the fine to protect the environment, encourage a change of behavior, which is a good thing, and deter future violations. In 2023, I inspected the facility 3 times with different Department of Ecology staff, where we did observe the violations jointly. They were noted in my inspection reports, and I'm working hand in hand with hazardous waste folks at Ecology, Nick Bennett specifically, as well as Derek Rocket and Solid Waste Program. And it is the Ecology's opinion that their solid waste handling permit should not be suspended or revoked at this time, although they've issued the fine and penalty. All solid waste handling facilities have to be in compliance with all federal, state, and local regulations, so that's part of their conditions. So in solid waste enforcement, my role then is to ask Ecology if they're in violation, how do you want that to impact their solid waste handling permit? Burlington Environmental is the company that services all of our transfer stations, HHW collection events. They have recently been awarded a contract with City of Vancouver to collect small quantity generator waste at their location. So Ecology staff in the house waste program has advised solid waste enforcement not to revoke the permit at this time, not to suspend it, and not to issue additional fines, penalties, or violation notices. But I do want to let this group know in full transparency that there are some complaints issues. They've had a tremendous turnover of staffing. They have a new site manager, program manager. Their environmental compliance manager left in December. And I don't know that that position has been replaced. So I anticipate this year to continue to be a year of growth for them and improvement. But Ecology and I are working together, and we are both aware of the issues. When I've done inspections, I've notified hazardous waste. When they've done separate inspections, they've notified me. So we're really trying to work in tandem. But I just want to be very transparent in the event that public health does have to issue a violation or does have to close this facility. It's definitely not something we ever want to do, is close a solid waste handling facility because of the ripple effect that that could have Obviously, if we don't have this resource within our community, it obviously impacts our HHW collection or transfer stations. It really expands. So, but I just want to be very transparent in the event that were to come up. Kimberly, my supervisor, Kimberly Walker Norton, would definitely work with our environmental health director, our health officer, and we would notify SWAC as well to ensure that you guys are all up to date. But I just want to be very transparent that this is a very serious thing. Ecology has issued $25,000 penalty earlier this in January of 2024. So that's kind of my big update of things we've been working on. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, this is Kim Harless with the City of Vancouver and Pink Care. I just wanted to also make folks aware of the impact of this facility on Paint Care itself too. So I ran across the violation in the newspaper because that's where it showed up. So this facility services pretty much all of the Portland metro area and also all of Clark County for all of our drop-off sites, and has a huge impact on our paint recycling program as well. So you were running through that list of, the possible impacts of this facility if they continue with any violations. And so I just wanted to make sure to add Paint Care to that list too. So thank you. I appreciate the explanation of what those violations were because I've been curious. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So facility obviously is struggling, to the point where it's violations obviously egregious enough to be fined. I assume that they are, working with ecology and with corrective action. I assume also that there's probably increased scrutiny, right, and further unannounced and announced site visits to occur to ensure that they are regaining compliance. Working with them, my experience if I'm working with the regulators work with me, and hopefully it's that type of mutual understanding of how important this service is and how important it is to comply with the regulations that they're contractually obligated to comply.
Yes. So, so from public health during COVID, we did announced inspections, just trying to coordinate critical key players to ensure a safe inspection could be conducted, both for their staff as well as for public health staff doing the inspection. Since 2021, we began resuming unannounced visits. So all of the inspections that I've conducted have been unannounced to Burlington environmental staff. However, they've been coordinated with ecology staff so that we're doing joint inspections. There have been a wide gamut. If you'd like to see my inspection reports, I can certainly send those to Amber and have her send those to the SWAC. Things as simple as aisle spacing, being the 30 inches aisle spacing that's required by state law, not having 30-inch aisle spacing, not having all of the totes face the same direction. So there's times where I've gone and they have totes stacked 3 high and about 25 deep, and it's yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, no, no. And then I have to go to the other side and say, oh shoot, the 3rd row, 2nd column, does that one have a label? Oh no, okay. So, trying to juggle back and forth. So really working with them to label face one direction so that when one person walks through a panel, you say, yep, good, instead of trying to figure out. So some of the things are very simple. Some of the things we found, drums that weren't adequately labeled that had materials stored in them. Some that were stored as garbage, but it had materials taken out of the waste stream, but it wasn't labeled or identified. General housekeeping is a big thing. Some of their staging, when they are getting ready for their 10-day transfer, they were staging outside on their open face area near their stormwater system. And again, they didn't have 30-inch aisle spacing there. Items weren't label faced, so you weren't able to tell if things were stored inappropriately or things like making sure that the rings are completely sealed when not in use. So some of the things are very simple and very easy to change and modify and really are a training component. And some of the things just require more oversight and management. Department of Ecology, after issuing the fine, received notification from a local group that does like a litter cleanup in that area. And they've reported that they're finding in their cleanup of that area, they're finding manifests that should have been maintained with the trucks. So Ecology is actually looking into that to follow up with them on their manifest documentation and management. So some of the stuff goes a little bit beyond the solid waste permit into other management components, which Ecology will be working on. But as far as, is it the WU2C that requires that manifest? Is it WSDOT that requires that manifest? It's not really the solid waste handling permit per se that requires that manifest, stay with the truck and the driver and transit, but those are the kinds of things that are coming up in discussion. So it's multifaceted.
Sorry, were there any, say, so what you're telling us is that there was no one particular, situation of chemicals, when you said, that, there were issues, the first thing I was thinking is, leaking oil drums or asbestos not properly sealed. It sounds like this is more just housekeeping type issues and things like that, correct? Housekeeping, record keeping, that type of thing. Right?
When I did the inspection in June with Department of Ecology, they typically have daily inspections of the facility that are logged,
Okay.
but they were only able to provide us
Mhm.
less than 10 reports for a quarterly amount.
Okay.
So there was documentation issues.
Yeah.
We have seen leaking containers that weren't identified,
Okay.
that they then had to clean up and remedy. There have
Okay.
Again, I'm happy to share my inspection report
So-
with Amber. You
Sure.
can see all the pictures and everything too.
So housekeeping and then a little beyond housekeeping, some of those,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
It's been enough, and I've had communication with Katie Potter, who was their environmental compliance person. She had gone, I said this has to be corrected immediately. She made plans, she had a training schedule. They've implemented that. She was supposed to update the operations plan before she left, and I have not yet received that.
Good.
And that's kind of where we are, but at this time, we're not issuing fines and penalties. We're not closing the facility. But I'm also not saying that that's completely off the table in the future if they continue down this path.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
No? Yeah, thank you.
All right, solid waste operations, Joelle.
Great, it's always hard to follow Melissa. Okay, so we have a ton going on. I'm just trying to keep it high level, but feel free to ask questions. Most important thing is all of our staffing updates. So first and foremost, Amber has been promoted to a program coordinator position. So she's now managing our solid waste records. She's going to be helping with public records requests and that sort of thing. And so we're hoping that we get to keep her managing our SWAC meetings, but it's possible that this might be her last one. And we have a new program assistant for our May meeting. So she might be able to stay on this, but just a heads up. So we will be posting that program assistant position probably next week, maybe tomorrow if we can get on it. I also want to introduce Tatum Flowers, who is on, I think you can see her. I don't know if you want to wave, Tatum. Tatum joined our team as an environmental operations specialist. And she's originally from Florida. I don't know if you want to share anything else about yourself, Tatum. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, so I come from Florida, and I'm been over here about 6 to 8 months, so I'm excited to be over here. And my background is in food waste and organics management, so excited to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. So we're really excited to have her working on some of our House Bill 1799 compost procurement. She's doing some data work for us. She's working on a policy with our purchasing department. So she rounds out our team. This has been a really exciting year for us, as we've just been doing a lot of staffing and getting a lot of needs met. So once we get this new program assistant, I think that will be it for onboarding for a little bit. So the other thing I wanted to mention about staffing is Sarah Kearns is going to start taking on sort of facilitating and managing this meeting. So make sure, I mean, we're still using the solid waste email, but instead of just emailing me, you can email her as well if you have questions about the meetings. Her and I still work together on the solid waste management plan update. We're going to be working together on developing the agendas, but I'm going to be focusing more on our regional solid waste system steering committee meeting, and she's going to get to do this one. So we're kind of dividing and conquering, but we're still going to be attending both. So you still get to see both of us. Other things, I know we had the transfer station siting study RFP that got canceled, and I had a million emails. Oh my gosh, what happened? It's not that exciting. It's just that we really pushed our timeline. Our purchasing department is out about 4 to 5 months in terms of getting projects released. And they have had a record amount of projects from the county in the last year. And this year's just continuing to increase. So we really wanted to meet our deadline because the siting study is tied to our grant. And so we pushed it out as fast as we could to try to meet that timeline. Once it was out, we realized it had a few edits that needed to be made. So we canceled it before the pre-submittal meeting. And as soon as I have a re-release date, I'll let everyone know that. Also, we have all of our interlocal agreements for the cities signed for the solid waste management plan, with the exception of the city of Vancouver. And we're working through that one. I think we're getting close, and hopefully we'll have that signed before our next SWAC meeting. So those interlocal agreements are with the cities are just an agreement to join our planning process and really a kickoff to really get that solid waste management plan moving. So it's really exciting that all the cities have signed except for one, but we're close. And if you're interested in looking at those interlocal agreements, they're on our website, and I can provide the link if you need it. Other things that we're working on, I've been meeting with the executive, or I've been meeting to have talks just about regional ownership and sort of what a timeline looked like, and kind of moving forward with that discussion. So we're going to be having talks at our regional system steering committee meeting and starting to kind of bring that forward. You know, we had a lot of discussion about it when we were talking about the regional system study. We're going to keep talking about it a lot more. So
Quick question.
yeah.
Just so I'm clear, the regional system steering committee is like all the public works
Yeah.
directors from the different.
From the different cities. Yep.
Just want to make
You
sure
got
I'm
it.
thinking
I don't know, it's a big acronym.
There's a lot of different.
Yeah.
Focus on the right thing. Thanks.
For sure, yeah. So we also had a waste characterization study kickoff meeting today. So that's also a partnership between Sarah Kearns' team and I. So we've got some outreach team and some operations staff working on that. Our last waste characterization study was in 2012. And we're really interested in looking at the impact of every other week recycling, that change, and seeing what impact has had on what's in the trash. So we are excited to kick that off. We expect that RFP to be later this year, hopefully by the summer. And yeah, that's it for updates for me.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, let's move on to Sarah, education outreach.
All right, well, first I'll just say that I'm really looking forward to engaging with you all a little bit more, as opposed to just being an attendee of these meetings. And email me, feel free. And then on the education and outreach side, I know my team put together some summaries of the activities that have already taken place within each program. So I'm not planning to go over the details that were already provided, but I did want to highlight some things that we're really excited about and looking forward to in the coming months. So on the green business side, we have a new Instagram account, and we're hoping to be able to do more engagement with small businesses and I know that that's a place online where we're hoping to continue our engagement on that front. And then in addition, we had a really great networking event at the wastewater treatment plant and a tour. So that was held last month. And then moving forward, our upcoming, we call them morning blends. It's an opportunity for peer-to-peer conversations about sustainability in businesses. And the next one will be at Mighty Bowl, and Steve Valenta will be our speaker. And then most recently, there was a note about an upcoming event in the notes that you received, but it already happened, and that event is a partnership that we had with Evergreen School District to host a green cleaning workshop in Spanish, specifically to Spanish-speaking moms. And it was really successful, and we had a really engaged audience. And so I wanted to highlight that because we're really looking forward to digging in deeper and reaching audiences that we haven't previously engaged with. And so we're looking for more partnerships that will kind of accelerate that work. And then other than that, on the Green Neighbors side, and so that's our residential outreach, we have a website called greenneighbors.org, and that is undergoing kind of a significant content overhaul. And so I'm looking forward to sharing that product with you when it's completed. We're looking at revamping and removing a lot of the legacy environmental outreach that we were doing to focus more strategically on reuse, waste reduction, sustainable materials management. And so eager to share that with you as well. And we're hoping to have that work completed by a draft in April and then completed in June. And then in April, we have an upcoming national event that we're participating in. It's Food Waste Prevention Week. And so that's an awareness raising, a lot of social media activity, some in-person workshops. And so I just wanted you to be aware that that will be happening before we see each other again.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. All right, City of Vancouver, Julie.
Good evening, SWAC members and audience. It's great to see you all. Happy Decorating with Candy Day as a nod to April and when we conserve food waste, conserve your candy too. Just for a SWAC's revision or reminder, we covered last time we met, but the city has new rates that took effect on January 1. We're 1 month into that, but our residential customers are going to see their February bill this and next week. So if they're reading the lines or noticing a difference in the cost, that's a time of year when customers will have conversations about their service and the cost changes that they see take effect because of an every other month billing cycle. And then exciting news in terms of wrapping up the fall leaves coupon program. It was a banner year. We've spent the most we have historically on this program. And at the end of the year, we memorialized new contracts with 4 yard debris vendors. For a total of 5 vendors that are under contract to be able to help support the city and our regional leaves and other yard debris disposal needs. And those contracts include a provision so that the smaller cities of the region and our partners at Clark County Public Works, if any of their operations department they can enter into a contract and skip the procurement process. So those have been shared out and entered into in their 5-year contracts. And so they effectively, if you recall on the coupon, there's vendor sites that residents can take their coupons to. So we need to have contracts with those vendors to then be able to allow residents to conveniently dispose of waste, leaves, and other yard debris within the city as well for our coupon programs from the city. And then we entered into an ILA with Clark County Public Works to again continue the partnership and legacy of this 20-year leaves coupon program. To be able to continue to provide that program in 9 months from now or less, if you can imagine. So next fall, when we get back to that season. So that wraps up our contracts. Melissa did mention the city has a contract with Burlington or Clean Earth as they're operating. And that's our stormwater group that entered into a contract to allow us to be able to do more SQG waste incentivization. Like we got a grant with EPA to allow us to work from a source control mindset, work with businesses to proactively and responsibly manage their hazardous waste because they can't use the facilities of the transfer stations and might opt to self-haul to the site. But unfortunately, at this point in time, haven't had any opportunities to yet utilize that incentive. And like Melissa said, we want to make sure we're working in step with regulators and with the site so that they're walking the right line towards compliance. And again, that's our stormwater program, working in coordination with partners across the region in our LINK group, which is a group of stakeholders that are connected with a regulatory mindset in solid waste and enforcement in stormwater and other avenues. And I'm not sure if Derek is here, but just a nod to the fact that many of us went through an inclement weather event that endured a good week. And we had great systems in place. And I wanted to also recognize that we have this regional app called the Recycle Right app that gave notification. And because of the automation that Waste Connections has really worked on in the last 2 years, conversion to every other week recycling in the county, we've seen a high participation rate of the customer base in Clark County. Nearly 30% of households that could have notifications through the app have opted in for this app. And so I think that really enabled us come inclement weather to demonstrate some resiliency and ease in communicating with customer bases that are impacted when services are canceled for reasons of road conditions or other. So the great news is we seem to not get a lot of complaints because people were informed and knew when service impacts were happening, in part from the great work the service provider has been doing, but also pushing out notifications via the app. And we get little comments back on the app on feedback and looked at those today, reflecting on the inclement weather we all went through. And then we wanted to highlight for SWAC's understanding, we talked about development review and the pipeline of housing and how to serve a growing community and growing communities. In the city of Vancouver, our staff who reviews projects that are either new or infill to the city, they've seen a noticeable trend in increase in their workload in terms of reviewing new pipeline of plans, complexity of developments in the city, and just some stats to throw out there. Over 650 reviews were completed, 654 to become exact. And that's an increase or an average of 55 per month, an increase of 12 reviews per month. And each review is complex, sometimes multiple touches. We work with the service provider to envision what future service could look like. It's sometimes difficult to imagine how do we service a facility that is dynamic and pushes us to the limits of our delivery and how we can deliver service. So we're attempting to be proactive and looking at new development, making sure they plan space for waste to facilitate diversion and other. And then just to highlight for SWAC, we've mentioned this a couple of times, but we wanted to invite you all to join us. We're working with our partners at Clark County and Waste Connections educators to put on recycling presentations. These are part of our presentations geared towards residents, inclusive of all, taken both virtually and in person. And this Saturday will be one at the Fourth Plain Commons off Fourth Plain in Vancouver, in person, in partnership with with the county and Waste Connections. And there'll be several coming up. So I'll drop a link here and then provide it if you're interested as SWAC members or your constituents are interested. Like Sarah says, join us at these educational opportunities, and we're excited to do that. And then just to wrap up, we have a very exciting announcement, much like the county, as someone who we're really excited to bring onto our city team, our new Public Works Director, Steve Worley. And he graciously decided to join me tonight and our SWAC rep. So Steve, I'll let you close it out and introduce yourself briefly.
Well, thank you, Julie. Good evening, everybody. I'm Steve Worley, the new Public Works Director at the City of Vancouver, and excited to be here, excited to get to know all of you and work together with you. I come from the Tri-Cities and the Spokane areas and have a lot of public works local agency experience. So I'm just excited to be able to bring that to the City of Vancouver and the Clark County area. And hopefully we'll get a chance to work together. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
That's all from us. Questions, if any? We'll stick around. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Julie, and welcome, Steve. Derek's not able to join us. I don't think we have a representative from Waste Connections. So just gonna move on to vape disposal, solid waste enforcement, J. Kimberly Walker North.
And I'm also going to have Angelina turn her camera on. She's our pollution prevention assistance program. So this is very informal. We've been meeting at the county, working to figure out how we can resolve the disposal of vapes, and in particular with our schools, which we're seeing an increased volume. And because they're considered a business, they are unable to participate in any of the recycling events that solid waste education outreach put on for the public. So I'll let Angelina first talk about the ecology meeting where this was all announced, and then we can toggle back and forth about the discussions we're having at the county level.
Hello. So yeah, the issue is that the schools are confiscating vape products that includes nicotine or cannabis. So these are designated as a pharmaceutical, and what's happening are these schools are accumulating so much of this waste that they're being labeled as an SQG, a small quantity generator, and these schools are labeled as a business, and they just don't have enough funding for somebody to handle this waste. And I also did survey different vape shops in the community, and there really is no take back program. Even the public and these shop owners, they don't know what to do with the waste. Like, no one really knows what to do with it. The only take back procedure they have is if the product has if it's expired or damaged, then they'll seal it up and send it back to the manufacturer. But all this waste is just accumulated and disposed of in the trash by the public.
And since we have the school health and safety program here at the county as well, we kind of roundtabled. Joelle was there, Jess was there, Angelina, myself, our PIO, just to see what we can start talking about messaging and recommendations. Angelina, correct me if I'm wrong. Ecology is looking to find a way to undesignate schools as businesses.
Yeah, that was the last rumor I heard, that they were trying to, yes.
Okay. So we're bringing it to this group just because we're at a stalemate as far as what we do to help these schools. So that's kind of the issue. Joelle, if you want to add on to that.
I didn't have anything specific to add on to it. I think your team really led the discussion, but I know Jess is here, and I know she had some specific topics that we brought up that I thought she would be a better representative.
Right, okay. And then, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just give me the cue and I can talk a bit about the residential stuff.
That's kind of the issue, and no funding from the schools to be able to get this processed. And then also, Melissa can speak to this a little bit better, that the transfer stations aren't in a position to take this, if I'm not mistaken.
So business hazardous waste is regulated differently from household hazardous waste. So if I bought vapes and had to dispose them, then I could bring it to the HHW facilities, household hazardous waste facilities, and those are at each of our transfer stations. But if I was a school, if I was a teacher and I confiscated vapes, then it becomes business waste, and then it can't go to the household hazardous waste facilities. So we are starting to develop some outreach materials just focused on like residential household vapes that we've developed, like a little poster that we're going to provide to as many vape shops as we can, that just gives a link to the HHW facilities so customers can see where to dispose of things while they're at the store. So it doesn't help so much with the business, the school side, but we can do our best for spreading the word that you can take them to the HHW facilities if you're just a resident.
So in my, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, to just kind of tag into this group, I really want to make sure that it's clear, like, when we're talking about like having an exemption for schools, it's also important that we maybe expand our thoughts. Like, yes, we need it for the schools today, but tomorrow we might need it for a church or a community group or a shelter or other community organizations. And so having it so narrowly focused on schools, I think, is short-sighted. I think expanding it to either be a community project, but it's really not that dissimilar to sharps. Whereas if you generate the sharps at home from your own diabetic use or whatever use, you then can dispose of it through HHW. If you leave your sharp in the parking lot of a hotel, now that becomes the property of the hotel that is a business, and they have to pay to dispose of that waste. They don't get to utilize the free household hazardous waste. We do have community opportunities for collection of things like batteries and medications, and maybe that would be a good partnership to look toward, is having a community drop-off or a collection where you're buying the vapes that you can then take your cartridges and recycle them there, and having that battery take back, sharp take back might be a better solution in the long term. But I think just giving a quick handwritten exemption to schools, I don't think that really solves the problem. I think it's a good start and a good start for the conversation, but it definitely lends to other discussions that I think as SWAC members is important for you to have consideration of.
Would the county be the legislative center for that type of rule, law, guidance, regulation?
It might be an opportunity for education outreach, that perhaps there might be some grant funding opportunities through Ecology or Department of Health, because it's related to vaping, which is related to our tobacco prevention program through public health. Again, I've been with the department for eons and eons, so I apologize for dating myself, but we used to have a tobacco prevention group, and that funding has diminished, you know, kind of where we would do tobacco stings at the C-store and get kids to buy and help them right up. There we go. And then when we got the 25 feet from smoking from the buildings, all of that enforcement came through public health. And so I think that there could be a very natural allegiance to that kind of partnership with public health and a community outreach effort, either through Department of Health or Department of Ecology. I think that there's a good partnership for that type of program. I know that Kim Harless, when she was here a while ago, she was really actively involved in trying to get the Paint Care set up within the, you know, even before Paint Care came on board, trying to get the boxes to the businesses. And so having that outreach effort through the Solid Waste Education Outreach Group, I think is a natural progression to address special waste in our community.
Speaking of Kim Harless, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, this is probably a question for Jess. Can you remind me? I remember it's.
Sorry, Kim, you're really quiet.
Can you hear me better now?
Not much. I can turn my volume way up though.
Yeah, it looks like it's the same.
Oh, that's
on
better.
my end. Okay. Can you remind me? I remember that there was a timeline or a goal to have the SQG program at the transfer station or at the hazardous waste facilities. I think that was in the solid waste management plan or part of your presentations. Do you know what that timeline was?
I did do a larger study on SQG waste at HHW facilities. That was like 2019 that I completed that. but it isn't in the solid waste management plan. I think it's all dependent on what's happening at the transfer stations with just so many things happening, the contracts, the ownership model, the new facility, all of that. So I don't think we'll be able to get it on any time frame, anytime soon. But on that study that I did, I found that there are a lot of counties in Washington that take SQG waste at their HHW facilities. They just charge either the disposal fee, so that could save a business money because they don't have to pay for transportation plus labor plus disposal. So that's a little cost savings. And then I think there were a couple of counties that have it built into their rates so that they can offer free disposal. I know King County has free SQG disposal, and SQG is small quantity generator, so kind of like the schools or the churches that don't have much hazardous waste. But I don't think we're close to doing that here, unfortunately. And the programs that we do have, like the battery collections, they're still tied to those regulations of business versus household. So we can only take household as well for that. But
Yeah, I mean, I think, Clark County, one of the large populated counties of the state, this is a major gap in our solid waste system, not having an SQG. It's just, and I've been in pretty much all of the counties in our area and beyond, and it's definitely a unique situation that I would like to see more priority given to this. But that it can be in tandem with a community program like Melissa talked about. Things don't, you need steps to get to a place that's the ultimate solution. But in addition, right now it's a short session up in Washington, but maybe we can look at maybe next year, starting now, really frame what the issue is and getting some data so that we could actually bring this to our state legislators and ask that there is some sort of EPR program. I mean, that's the big thing right now, an EPR program for this, an EPR program for that. This could be one that we could try to spearhead. SWAC's done legislative stuff in the past, and I'd be more than happy to help with that. Also with my City of Vancouver hat as well, and having our lobbyist work on it.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm really happy about. Last year, they passed the battery stewardship, and that will allow schools, businesses to recycle batteries when that program starts in 2027. And yeah, Kim dropped off, but in that legislation, the way you set it up matters, because like the medication take back program, that is not open for business medications. So kind of have to be careful how things are set up, that it's not exclusive to residential waste, but it is very confusing how it's set up. And that is like the state dangerous waste regulations is how that's set up.
Seems like
Well, we
this is
just wanted to
something-
bring it to the group, get any input, thoughts. Melissa's absolutely right. It shouldn't just be schools. That's just kind of the driving force for us right now. And what our next steps look like. Some good ideas were just shared. And we'll bring our team at Clark County back together and start talking about what our next steps will be as far as addressing this. That's all I have.
Yeah, I guess this is Ruben. One thing I was gonna say is that, the vaping is, seems predominantly towards a younger generation, and I think one thing we need to consider is that probably a lot of this is done in a kind of a covert manner, especially with a lot of these students, and so that's why they're probably being caught at school.
Exactly.
And at home, being tossed secretly into garbage cans or left in their friends' cars, or just tossed in a garbage can on the side of the street before they go home. So I think we got a couple things working against us to really, educating, because more likely this isn't happening in their homes. This is happening when they're going to school or hanging out with their friends. And before this, I had no idea that this was an issue.
Right.
Had no idea.
Right.
that this was I mean, and I think about it now, it's like, of course, it makes perfect sense, right? That
Yeah.
this would be a waste problem that we now have to deal with. And
If it's a significant waste problem and it's a person who has a habit, could we possibly approach it from the standpoint of the deposit fee for a bottle? Then in
that's the
order
first thing I
to,
was thinking, is charge
if
$2
these-
for each.
there's other
Yeah.
categories where manufacturers are
Right.
being held responsible for providing the funds necessary to address the waste or the long-term impact of whatever their product or service is. Why couldn't these vaping companies be, why, and so when the kids come in to buy, if they're going and buying new ones, they get a credit for a nickel a piece or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, I follow where you're going with that, Mike, but obviously that's something, probably more at the state level or something like that, but no, great idea nonetheless, yeah, great idea nonetheless.
Still, these adolescents are gonna be
Oh, they are.
holding on their empties to recycle, and that may not happen since they're getting their older siblings.
And they aren't legal to purchase them in the first place.
Oh, yeah, right.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think
Right.
they're getting the credit of the recycling.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is gonna be a
All
tough
of
one.
them.
Right.
All right.
So,
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
that education.
But that was my first thought, is like maybe just
Right.
charging like a deposit or fee, but who knows how long. Get back to it.
Sorry, Ruben, didn't want to talk about the topic. I would throw out there, this is a total different conversation, but it definitely leads in that direction, is the, household hazardous waste, and of course, the small waste generator. Thank you, SQGs, thank you. I've shared with the group a couple of times, at least in the past, about, knowing people in businesses that, let's just say knowingly, broke the rules because of the structure of what it took to be able to recycle, plus cost, plus this and that. I think, I would like to at least propose a concept that I think as Clark County Solid Waste, we should look at possibly making it a free or near free service, so that we can encourage, a lot of folks are like, well, you don't understand, there's a cost to it. Well, if you put whether it's a monetary cost or even just a cost of time and energy, what you're doing is you're discouraging people from doing something that they would, knowing the gentleman that I, have spoken of in the past, he would have done it if it weren't for the fact that it was so hard to match they're only open, 4 hours a week, and, it costs X amount of dollars and stuff. He's like, I would have done it if it wasn't so bloody, restrictive. And by the way, I'm saying that in general, and, we can then look at, say, the vape cartridges. Now I understand what the schools are going through, but for anything that you mentioned about the sharps container left at a hotel, parking lot, why the heck should a hotel have to pay to dispose of a sharp? I think that's something. Okay, you had mentioned that, or I'm sorry, somebody had mentioned, I think it was Kimberly there that had mentioned that it was that a couple of the counties had it rolled into their cost of, let's just say, the overall cost of waste management. What was it, Jessica?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, one of you had mentioned that, and I think that that's probably a better plan overall if you want conformity, or if you want, what's the word I'm looking for here?
You want to reduce barriers to access.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's already hard enough to get someone to drive their stuff there. I mean, we're changing the entire way we recycle our batteries because we're worried about these lithium battery fires, but then we have these disposable vape pens that, quite frankly, no one is collecting those and taking those down to the transfer station. I almost can't. Besides looking at the school issue, is just in our entire waste stream period, there are probably thousands of these things going through our waste stream every month. Because they're literally, quite frankly, disposable lithium-ion batteries.
That's it.
And the United Kingdom just banned disposable vape pens
Oh, did
completely.
they really?
They just did that, I was, cause I was doing a little research on this, and yeah, they completely banned disposable ones. You can still get reusable, like portable ones, but ones that are just meant to be thrown away and not reusable, they banned them completely. So I think, going back to kind of what Kim said, is the EPR is the way, and this is a much bigger issue than just Clark County can solve. And a much bigger issue than just in our schools, is like, we have lots of lithium ion batteries going through our system right now because of this new sort of waste stream that we haven't really considered, and it's gonna become hopefully not a bigger issue, but it's already pretty popular, and I would imagine it's gonna become more popular. And just, we have to meet people, in my mind, where they are. Getting them to get down to the transfer station is not gonna work. It's gonna have to be some sort of EPR where they're going to the vape shop, and, oh, here at the vape shop, just like we're gonna do with the batteries, is, oh, I can drop my pens into this box here, and then the vape shop will box them up. And that's gonna be a solution that might get some people to do it, and even then, you're still gonna have a lot that just, people don't take the time, it's just in the trash, and now it's not my problem. And getting those behavioral changes will be a very long process, but.
Just as a follow on that, we're anticipating a new MRF down the road.
Yeah.
I think it was about 6 months ago, we all became aware that, I think it was MIT that was working with the major manufacturers to be able to capture the little single-use trial size packaging and get that out of the material so it could be recycled. Why couldn't they modify the vape sleeve or whatever it is kind of in that same arena?
Yeah.
I wonder if that technology that they've been working on for that could be adapted to, like you said, you meet people where they are, so that they will throw it in recycle as opposed to garbage. Maybe we can get that far. But then in our MRF facilities, we'd be able to extract it with technology that's going to supposedly becoming available to capture these things. And I don't know. I mean, the robotics that's already involved in the technology, the visual technology that they're using for sorting right now, it seems to me they could combine that and we could help pull the vape.
I think size would be, I don't know how that all works, but just the fact that they're so small makes it that much more difficult to do.
And that's why that focus on that trial size effort that is going on at MIT might fit in with that.
So those small batteries, I have a 7-year-old at home, and I don't want to admit this, but she has light up battery shoes. Her toothbrush has a light up that goes for 60 seconds. She has a scooter that when she goes down the road has a rainbow light up. Those stinking batteries are in absolutely everything. She has magic wands, she has a microphone. They have these things hidden in a stinking rubber ball that when you bounce it, it lights up. These electronics and batteries are in everything.
And for a lot of these, when the battery dies, it's cheaper just to go buy a new bouncy ball. Right, replace that.
You know, you got me thinking that I've had, my kids have had plenty of leaded shoes. I've never done anything but throw them in the trash.
Right. So I think there's, it's multifaceted.
Right.
There's other things too to address in this overarching thing. But also to kind of go back to like, hey, shouldn't we just make this free for businesses? At the end of the day, having taxpayer dollars or ratepayers subsidize businesses that are for profit doesn't usually go over well. I think that I do think there are instances where there's incidental. And so maybe there could be caveats for vape pen cartridges that are found, sharps that are found, medications left behind in a hotel room that can be captured in that manner. But oftentimes it's kind of narrow lines. Are you an SQG? Are you a moderate risk waste generator? Are you a large quantity generator? Oh, today I'm bringing this in as a small quantity generator, but are you really a small quantity generator? And so there's those boundaries too. So that's why ecology has delineated those lines, and it really hasn't, why we haven't blurred the line with the businesses, because it is so hard to say, you coming to me, you know, that this ginormous battery, yep, I found it in my garage, or it came from Wafer Tech. Like, which one? Like, I think it probably is from this big corporation, but you're saying it's from your house, so here we go. But, and so I get that too. And I think it is important. I would rather see it go to the right way and a company is gonna manage it correctly and process and sort it out. But I don't know having ratepayers subsidize.
Yeah, I don't know how the billing works, but is it possible to just put a fee onto commercial accounts only for a small quantity generator type fee? And then we're not having every resident subsidize that small quantity generator. It's just commercial accounts only, whether you're, and it'd be different. I mean, you can't really distinguish between small, large, you know, and all these different ones, but if you just put it on a commercial side, then maybe that'd be a way to get around sort of that perception that businesses are getting a free ticket off the back of residential customers.
And trying to find out, you know, what do you do with the business who has a small bit of uranium that they want to get rid of is way cheaper if you're gonna help offset it and it's only a $25 charge than actually trying to get rid of that. Our facilities have ended up with some material that's cost thousands of dollars literally to get rid of and properly dispose, that were found in my dad's storage area.
Yeah.
It's just a finding that balance.
Yeah.
All right.
Just one last question, as the scientist in me is just dying. Kim or Jess, do we track this? Is there data showing how much we are dealing with or could be dealing with? I haven't seen this anywhere. What are the quantities? What's the data?
That
Where's it
waste
going?
characterization study that's upcoming will be a great opportunity.
I haven't heard of any data that we were just told we have large volumes in our school. I can check with ecology to see if they've got any numbers. But other than that, we don't know, just told that there's a lot in the schools and we need to start figuring out what we're going to do with it. Or how we're going to assist them, I should say.
Yeah, it'd be great to just what they're collecting and know that it's probably magnitudes more in our community that's being thrown away. But yeah, it'd just be good to kind of
That
see if
waste
they're tracking that.
characterization study is coming up. We'll do that. They'll literally pick through the garbage and weigh it and figure out exactly everything. And that'll be like our first real test of how much of this stuff are we actually getting. And that'll be a great baseline.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for as a
Yeah.
baseline, because it's been 10 years, you know,
I mean,
more than 10 years.
and 10 years ago, I don't think vape pens existed. I mean, maybe not at the, anywhere, maybe not anywhere at the level they're at. Like, unfortunately.
Do you know if there's a special tax associated with that, like there's with cigarettes? Could there possibly be a quantification of how much is sold in Clark County based on a tax collection on that product?
That should be data we should be able to get pretty easily from the vape shops. What their volume is. Now it's not going to discern between who's actually attaining it. So if it's a student and it ends up at the school, that's an SQG. And then versus the ones that can drop them off at the transfer station as a household. But we could get numbers sold in the state. Or excuse me, in the county, my bad.
Well, thanks for giving us another problem to try to.
We'll keep you updated.
Kim, thanks for making our day.
Thank you.
All right. Did Jess have anything else, or was that all kind of mix and mingle?
That's all for me. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Moving on, solid waste management plan updates, Sean.
So I'm going to introduce Sean. So he came to our last SWAC meeting to give you our first glimpse of the new design of the solid waste management plan. And Sean is going to show you the progress that we've made. So we've got a couple of full chapters that we've now put into the design, and he's going to walk you through some of the changes that we've made and why we made them. So thank you, Sean, for coming.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I'm Sean. I'm from Mall Foster Longview. I'm a graphic designer here. And yeah, tonight I'll just kind of walk you through, give you a quick recap of what we've done so far, progress we've made since the last meeting and what our next steps are. So I'm sharing my screen. Just let me know if you can't see it. And so if you remember, previously we started off this process by going through a visual preference survey where we just quickly narrowed down a pretty basic visual direction, identified some goals and opportunities that we could work on with this plan. One of those opportunities was updating the photography for the plan. So we went out, took a bunch of photos across several sites, collected photography that we could use for the plan and also the county could use elsewhere. We took the feedback from the visual preference survey. We created a couple quick stylescapes to narrow down the design even more. And from that, we were able to create two layouts of the actual plan, two design directions of the solid waste management plan. And at that point, we had kind of caught up with the content. So we started, we didn't want to waste budgets just laying out stuff that was going to change or we'd have to reorganize or redesign. So we started working on fine-tuning the handoff process, identifying when we wanted to pass content off for design, brainstorming figure solutions. We identified sections that we could work on that would be an efficient use of the time. One of those was nailing down the table of contents, how much information we wanted to have in there, and what that would look like. We focused on making it really glanceable, setting up some hierarchy and making it easy to find required content, but also making it easy to find content for updating in the future. And then at that point, we identified a section that was ready to begin layout, and we realized that stuff is still going to change at this point. So it's just a preview. We're just trying to nail down the design even further and get it ready for all the content to be laid out. So we really started with this enforcement section, got that into the plan. One of the things that came up that we realized wasn't working was the second tier subheads we had in kind of this lighter green color. When we ran that through our accessibility check, it wasn't passing accessibility for contrast. So we reverted back to the dark green and just added a little highlight to get some of that visual interest in there and some contrast. That's the type of things that we're looking at as we're laying out this section. Able to work on some more tables and kind of brainstorm this table here, which is definitely still in progress, but this table is replacing a whole wall of text that was in there that wasn't very user-friendly. We just tried to make a way that it was easy to digest, glanceable, and gets across information. And this is how the plan is starting to come together. And thanks to all the work that we did with the visual preference surveys, the stylescapes, and the two design directions, the design is really, there's just minor tweaks to the design at this point. So layout is going really quickly. So once more content is ready, which we're expecting in March, the layout and design of that will go pretty quickly. And as of right now, we're going to continue working on figures. Sarah's created a nice smart sheet that we're working off of that has brainstorm ideas in it, identifying everything that's ready to be worked on. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. If anyone wants to see anything again or has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Joelle or Sarah's, if I've missed anything, let me know.
Yeah, I wanted you to just kind of mention about the accessibility, just in case we're familiar with it, but just so everyone else knows. Is there a filter that you use to determine whether it's going to be readable for, eyesight impairment, color blindness, that sort of thing? And so this is just one of the many fantastic things you all do with your design work that I just wanted to highlight.
Yeah, good question. So there's a lot of things that go into accessibility. One thing that we're looking at this stage is mainly for visual impairments, and there's several different levels. But color contrast is usually a big one, and that's what came up here. But there's other things that we kind of look at when we're laying this out. One thing is having good hierarchy so that there's good contrast between different sections and sizes of type. Line length is another one, so making sure we're not, that's why we kind of created wide margins so that the line length is manageable and easy to read. Spacing, a question came up about justifying the text, and that can be difficult for people, especially with dyslexia, to be able to read. So those are kind of things that we're looking at this stage. There's other things that go into setting up the document, so ensuring we're setting up the document correctly so that when we export this to a PDF, it's set up for screen readers so that content is being read in a logical manner. And especially as we get into sections where there's tables or figures and the text kind of jumps over images, we're setting that up kind of behind the scenes so that screen reader is reading it in the correct order, and it's not like reading the cities and towns section and then reads the legend and then reads something up here. So those are the things that we're looking at as we're going through this. And there's some stuff that's built into our programs. There's other things that we kind of run through third-party checks as well.
Thank you so much. It's just, we've been doing a lot of learning through this project, and that was something that I really wanted to make sure everyone understood, that, you know, when we're looking at things with an equity lens and an accessibility lens, it's just all these different layers that you don't think about unless you do this design kind of work. So super cool. Did anybody else have any questions for Sean? And we can dismiss him if not. Keeping you late today. He met with us at 8 o'clock this morning, and then we're like, hey, you can see us again tonight.
Yeah, it's been a long one.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks for having me.
All right, moving on to other business.
One question going back real quick is, what is the timeline for when this document will be done and we can all read it in its beautiful formatted print?
So our timeline, I don't have it with me, but it's that we're still sticking with that snake timeline. And the goal for to submit the preliminary draft to Ecology is really dependent on all of the cities signing the interlocal agreement. So we've got on, we just are waiting on the one, and then we're not letting that hold up the process of getting our document put together. We're almost finished taking the comments that we got and then the text. We noticed once you start doing a design, things jump out at you and we're like, oh, we got to fix that. Oh, we need data here. Oh, you know, and so we are probably going to have to do another internal round of edits before we submit it. So our goal date was April. And so to have it to you all by the next SWAC meeting for May, that's probably really ambitious, but that's what I'm still hoping for, that we would have it in a place where you all can start reading it in that form. We are looking at modifying data tables and talking to Ecology on what they expect, because Sarah Schrader and I are part of the ecology guidelines group called the GRAM, that's like updating all of the ecology guidelines. And those new guidelines for the plan are expected to come out in April. So we were like, well, we don't want our plan to be subject to the old guidelines if the new guidelines are easier. So we're kind of like trying to get a sneak peek on, okay, if the UTC questionnaire was 15 pages and now it's only 3, can we do that one? So I didn't want to push it once we found out about those new guidelines. So just, there's a couple of different things that are at play, but I really think by our next meeting in May, we're going to have hopefully something to provide you, or not be something very close.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, one of the things that you seemed excited about earlier when we were reviewing that material was the possibility of a fold out you would have a hierarchy showing the relationship of all these various organizations, sub-organizations that who reports to who and what, dotted line and solid line. Is there any kind of, do you know if that
So
type
we're
of
still,
content?
we're still kind of, we're basing it all on what ecology is gonna require us to put in there.
Okay,
So from there, we're doing the must-haves first and then the, you know, would like to have after the fact. So it might be that if that's something that really we want, it might be in the next update if we don't get to it, because we really want to make sure that we get this done in 2025. I mean, we want to be in compliance and have our plan updated.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. If ecology is not going to require it, we're not going to push to put something in there that we don't.
Any other business?
Hey, can folks hear me?
Yeah.
Guy in the wall, just wanted to introduce myself. Speaking of plans, you got some good news here. You're gonna have someone to actually be able to review it on our end. But I'm the new Southwest Regional Manager for Solid Waste Management, Department of Ecology. Peter Lyon promoted up. He's my boss now. So I slid in behind him. I'm formerly the Statewide Resources Section Manager, which is a very insular job here in Solid Waste Management at Ecology. Yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Blake Nelson. I look forward to meeting you in person and working with you. And I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Christine Kohlberg. It is her first day on the job. And take it away, Christina, sorry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Kohlberg. And as Blake mentioned, I'm the new grants manager and planner. So happy to be here today and can't wait to get to know you guys all more and see your plan. So.
Awesome. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself.
Yes.
Well, I didn't see you on there, so I'm so sorry I missed you at the beginning. Yeah, thank you. And you'll be getting emails from me as we're talking about all of the things. So thanks so much, Blake, for jumping on. And you too, Christina. Welcome.
One thing I did notice is we have a lot of terms expiring in 2024. So if you are looking to renew, make sure you still have to go through the same process. Make sure you get your intent and resume and so forth in, so it gets to the county and they can approve you to continue on. It is, even though you are an incumbent, it's still open to anyone. It's not a guarantee that you will stay on the board or on the commission.
Heavy competition.
It's a time.
You're practically breaking down the door to get it.
But I just want to put that out there so we're not scrambling. Last time. It's like, oh crap, county's making tonight. You give this to me in a half hour. All right. No other business? Any public comment? All right, well, I would like to call to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
All right. See you all in May.
Thank you.
Good job.